Hello everyone, today we will be reviewing the Bambolab A1 Mini Combo 3D printer. Bambolab is one of the most talked about 3D printer brands in the last 2 years. While the general opinion among users is that Bambolab produces high-quality 3D printers, the company has occasionally faced criticism regarding its pricing. In this regard, Bambolab, which aims to meet the expectations of its users, first launched the A1 Mini and then the A1. Today, I will be reviewing the A1 Mini, the smaller member of the A series, along with the AMS Lite system. Let's dive right into the printer's design and features. When you first see the A1 Mini, you might be surprised by its size. Okay, you expect it to be a little printer, but I can say it's even smaller than I expected. You can easily place this printer anywhere in your home or workplace, including right on your desk. The printer's width and depth are 34.7 by 31.5 centimeters, and its height is 36.5 centimeters. While the A1 Mini performs movements precisely along the Z and X axes on linear rails, the table movement specifically occurs on a metal rail using metal wheels. A flexible printing bed with a PEI coating has been used as the printing platform. On this bed, you can printing objects with a maximum width, depth, and height of 18 centimeters. The bed leveling is performed automatically. The pressure-sensitive nozzle system can quickly take measurements by touching multiple points on the bed. In the front right corner, there is a small screen displaying the printer's name. Although the screen's response speed and touch sensitivity are good, getting used to its small size may take some time. The direct drive extruder and nozzle design are exactly the same as in the A1. Just like in the A1, you can easily replace the nozzle in the A1 Mini as well. To do this, simply open the front cover, remove the silicone sleeve, release the clip, and pull the nozzle forward. One of the key features of the extruder system is its ability to automatically calibrate the flow. By using the current sensor on the device to measure the pressure reaching the nozzle, it ensures the correct amount of material flow. This positively affects the dimensional consistency and printing quality of our prints. Like many other models indeed, the A1 Mini's combo feature is provided by the AMS Lite system. Thanks to AMS Lite, we can print in color if we want, or when the filament on one spool runs out, we can continue printing with the other spool. The printer has a wireless connection feature, allowing you to send a sliced model from your computer to the printer remotely. You can also adjust basic settings such as printing speed, temperature, or the fan. Additionally, thanks to its integrated camera, you can monitor the printing status live from your computer, phone, or tablet at any time or record time-lapse videos. The A1 Mini is a fast 3D printer. It can reach speeds of up to 500 millimeters per second with an acceleration of 10,000 millimeters per second squared. At first glance, the printer seems to have quite impressive features. It is likely it has features bigger than it can handle. I tested all these features with different materials. Now let's continue the review with the classic test printing, the Benchy. I printed 2 different Benchy boats. One was a slightly more fun version. It looks almost like a balloon. I can say that the classic version is completely flawless. There are no printing errors or sagging at angles. Some slight stringing in a couple of spots, no negative issues. You can't really call this little bit of stringing a problem. It's a pretty successful printing. This Benchy, which looks like a balloon, was printed at a 45-degree angle. That's why you may notice the layer lines a bit more. Again, due to being printed at a 45-degree angle, there are natural sagging areas on the back. The other surfaces, however, look good. There are no printing issues. Another printing you see is the Willys Jeep model. This model consisted of quite a lot of parts. All the parts you see, except for the wheels, were printed with PLA. For this printing, I used a Bambu Lab filament for the first time. That is the main body in this orange color you see. Is the filament nice? Nice, but bamboo filaments are costly. However, I was quite satisfied with the surface quality. For the remaining parts, I used Hyper PLA, economical to bamboo. And the surface quality also turned out to be quite impressive. Even though I used supports in many areas, there was hardly any roughness or sagging. There is a slight amount just above the rear wheel, but I think that's within a normal range. One of the things I liked about the printing was the top surface quality. When we look at both the orange and black parts, there isn't the slightest nozzle mark visible. This situation is as much related to filament quality as it is one of the important indicators of how well the printer has been calibrated. Apart from PLA, another material I used for printing was TPU, which is a flexible filament. I previously printed just 2 of these wheels with A1. I printed the other 2 with the A1 Mini. The material and settings I used were exactly the same. I don't see any difference in printing quality either. In my opinion, the surface looks just as good as if it were printed with PLA. After a few test and hobby printing, I worked on 2 functional parts. One of them is this mouse you see. Bambu has various kits like this: wireless mouse kit, desktop clock kit, wireless phone, charging kit, various motors, or lighting products, for example. Bambu provides the electronic components. You take the printing and assemble them. It might appeal to hobbyists or those who want to create functional items with a printer, or it can be used to increase children's interest in this technology as well as for educational purposes. I also made the world's most comfortable mouse in the shape of the world's smelliest fruit, durian, using a wireless mouse kit. The mouse is so comfortable that after using it a little, you start to get these little holes in your hand. Of course, that's a joke. Outer shell of model printed with PLA. Despite having many right angles and sharp points, there is no sagging. The surface quality is completely flawless. The part where the electronic components are placed was printing with PETG. There are many more fine parts and details here. However, no errors are visible. Again, I can say that there are no nozzle marks even on the upper layers. A successful printing. This was a product made for humor, but there are also much more functional and stylish designs. In the A1 combo review, I had made one of these as well. If you'd like, you can also watch that video. Another printing I made with PETG is also a functional printing. Before starting a printing, the A1 Mini performs nozzle cleaning. During this cleaning process, it literally ejects the first extruded piece. To prevent these waste pieces from scattering around, I took a printing of such a part. It's a lightweight and beautiful model that doesn't strain the printer's arm. There's only a very slight wobble around the hole on it. Other than that, the printing quality of both parts is quite good. I haven't tried an ABS print with the A1 Mini. In general, open frame printers are not very ideal for ABS. It can be printed. I have tried this many times in my previous reviews. However, the A1 Mini's table temperature can reach up to 80 degrees, and this is insufficient for ABS. I mentioned this as additional information. Now let's look to the tests I conducted with AMS Lite. I printed 2 different printing. One of them is a single piece print, but it's a movable model. When you look at the size of the model, the printing time might initially seem long to you. The printing of this model you see took exactly 10 hours and 32 minutes. When using AMS, the more frequent the color changes in the printing, the longer the printing time becomes. However, I think the important point here is that despite so many color changes, there are no printing errors or layer shifts. A positive effect for printing. The negative aspect is that a lot of filament is used for color printing, because in order to print this 32-gram model, 150 grams of waste filament was produced. So we're talking about waste filament that's 5 times the model. Of course, if you place 10 of these models on the table instead of just 1, the amount of waste doesn't change. Therefore, the ratio of waste filament per model decreases. You can't fit 10 of this model on the table, but if it's a smaller model and there's a need, it might make sense to increase piece. To see the difference, I also printed the same model in a single color. There is no waste anymore, only the nozzle was cleaned at the beginning. The printing time has dropped from 10 hours and 32 minutes to 2 hours. The printing quality is quite nice, it's colorful. However, as I mentioned, the less color change there is, the less waste filament is produced, and the shorter the printing time will be. For example, in this decorative panel, filament changes occur only 3 times. The printing starts with black. In the following layers, there are red and yellow color changes. It also finishes with white. Therefore, the waste filament is quite minimal. The printing time is only a few minutes longer compared to a single color print. After the AMS tests, we moved on to the speed test. I printed of the same model at speeds of 50, 150, 250, and 500 millimeters per second. Along with speed, I also proportionally increased the acceleration. One of the key factors affecting printing speed is the filament flow rate. Therefore, using filaments with a high flow rate for high-speed printing will improve performance. For these speed tests, I chose Hyperfilament, which has a high flow rate. In the A1 review, I had Printing Scorpion from the Mortal Kombat characters. In this review, I printed Sub-Zero, a nice model. There were quite a few details to observe on it. The bust consists of 2 parts. Now let's put the lower part side by side and look at their differences. I said, let's look at the differences. However, there is almost no difference between the speeds. I mean, only if you take a magnifying glass and look closely, you might see small fluctuations as the speed increases. Other than that, I don't think I can show you much of a difference in the photos. All the speeds here are quite good. At the top, however, we can perceive the difference in speed and descent more clearly. I can see that as the speed increases, the effects of vibration become more noticeable. There are slight wobbles on the surface. If we get a little closer and look at the pattern on his chest, again, as the speed increases, you can notice that small details decrease, and even at a speed of 500 mm per second, the pattern starts to distort. I can say similar things for the face, but the differences are less noticeable compared to the body. As the speed increases, the effects of vibration remain at a low level. The most I can say is that the layer marks around the eyes become slightly more noticeable. When I look at the peak point, at a speed of 500 mm per second, very small gaps have started to form at the upper points. It's not a significant issue, but this was one of the small differences I noticed. Although the A1 Mini is not a printer with a very high maximum acceleration, I think it successfully passed the speed tests. Here, the printing time was reduced from 14 hours and 18 minutes to 7 hours and 26 minutes, while there were no significant differences in printing quality. Honestly, the overall printing quality exceeded my expectations. Since the device has a single-arm design, I had some doubts. Would the lines be more visible between layers? I wondered. However, I never encountered such a problem. I think it's a very stable printer. I also found the printer's build volume to be quite sufficient for its intended printing. Since the printer itself is small, the printing area also feels smaller. When you think about it, actually, just a year or two ago, there were 20 by 20 printing areas, and much larger 3D printers were also used. Considering those, I think the space in this printer has been used very efficiently. AMS Lite works well. If color printing is a must for you, or if you're concerned about whether the filament has run out, or if the printing will be sufficient or not, and you don't want to deal with these issues, or if you plan to use printing support filaments, it will be beneficial for you. But for hobby projects alone, I think expensive and results in excessive filament waste. The wireless connection works very well. Sending files to the printer remotely and monitoring printing is very easy from your computer, tablet, and phone. However, its camera is not good, just like in the A1. It's sufficient for remote printing monitoring, but the quality is too low for time-lapse videos. The A1 Mini is one of the quietest printers I've used. In my tests, with the cooling fan on, the noise level was 52 dB at a speed of 50 mm per second, and at 300 mm per second, there was no difference. With the cooling fan off, the noise level at 50 mm per second was in the range of 42-44 dB, while at 300 mm per second, the maximum noise was 45 dB. So you want to buy a 3D printer for your home or office. But if you are wondering where to put it, or if your spouse asks you if there is any space left at home, where will you put a printer? Or if you or your children want to start learning this technology and the quietness of the printer is important to you, the A1 Mini could be a good and economical choice for entry-level users. I like this 3D printer, recommend it too. Yes, that's all I have to say about the A1 Mini combo. I hope this video has been useful for you and has given you an idea. So what do you think about this video and the A1 Mini combo? I look forward to your comments. May your printer work flawlessly and your printing be perfect. See you in the next video. Goodbye.